why did you guys start your own private practice?
I can start with that. So I'm Pamela Sunder. I'm in private practice as a facial plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. I do primarily cosmetic work, and for me, it was important to be in private practice. I actually thought I was going to go in academics for the vast majority of my medical career, but when it came down to it, it was really important for me to do private practice, partly because of the nature of my work, but I really wanted the autonomy and the flexibility that I didn't think I could get from academics. And I know in retrospect, there have been a lot of women who are able to do that and do that well. But for me in my practice and where I wanted it to end up, I just felt like personally it was a better option for me to go into private practice.
I'll go next. So I was actually in academics for 8 years, and it was one of those things where I loved it, but being someone who was part of a niche and kind of like a subspecialty, I felt like I was often not really given what I was worth. And so for me, it was really important in order similarly to grow professionally and then grow in terms of like more of as a person. It was one of those most important steps for me. So that's why I ended up going into private practice.
And I'm Pamela Mehta, and I'm a board certified orthopedic surgeon. And I started my own practice for me because I really needed to design a life that was going to work for my family. And for me, I was in an employed health model, and once I had children, I realized very quickly that flexibility was key for me. So I needed to start when I wanted to in the morning and end when I wanted to in the afternoon, and I had to dictate when I was going to be in clinic and when I was going to be in surgery. And I also just didn't want to practice medicine. I wanted to practice medicine the way I wanted to practice medicine. And so for me, I think that was the main reason. We have help at our house with our children, but I wanted to do all those mundane activities like taking them to school, picking them up, taking them to all their activities. And for me, once I realized that was kind of key in designing my life, then I just designed my practice around it.
So unlike everybody else here, I'm actually not in private practice. I'm in academic medicine. I'm a urologist, and I subspecialize in female pelvic medicine and reconstructive surgery. But I chose to do academics because I wanted to teach residents. I wanted to do research, which allows me some flexibility, and I can still have days where now with COVID-19, I work from home. I'm around for my kids, and I chose a practice, and we'll probably get into this more later, but I chose a practice that was, allowed me to do that really valued family, and was, I could tell from the interview that they were really on board with letting people design their schedule so that it fit their family life. And so even if you go into an employed position, it's really important to just know that about your practice.
Thank you so much. That's so awesome, ladies. My next question to you guys is, how does your marriage support the life that you guys have chosen today?
So my husband is he's in finance, so not in medicine whatsoever. And he actually works from home, has worked from home. He's got his own business, has worked from home even pre-COVID. So it's worked out really well for us in terms of, with the kids, the drop-off, pickups, things like that. It was important for both of us independently, actually, to not have like nannies for our kids. I don't know why, but probably because I didn't have any nannies growing up, it was really important to me that they were taken care of by family, and we're fortunate enough that we do live close to one set of parents where it's possible. Mm-hmm. And so having a husband that worked from home really allowed me to be able to do that. And then early on in my career, when the kids were much younger, I worked part-time, allowing for me to be more involved. And then now as they're older, he does most of the drop-offs or he does most of the pickups, and I'll do some drop-offs and he'll do some drop-offs. So that's really worked out well, and we've been able to swap roles because of that relationship.
Nice. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarmila. Dr. Pam, what about you?
So my husband's in medicine. He's a spine surgeon, and he's in an employed-based system. So we both kind of have really busy out of the home careers. Like we obviously can't work at home. Well, now with COVID, we're all kind of working from home, but before that, and he helped me start my practice. He probably, help is a very strong word. He actually, I mean, weak word. He actually created the practice for me, and then I just kind of went along and doctored in that practice. But I think that he supports me both in the business aspect of my practice, but also, you know, I think it's really important. A lot of young South Asian women are on this summit. It's really important to find someone that supports you in whatever way that means to you. And for me and my husband, it's like we do 50-50 of everything. There's, you know, he cooks all the meals, and which is awesome. And I do more of the drop-offs and pickups. So it's just in everything that we do, there's so much of compromise, and if he's late, then I take over. If I'm late for work, he takes over. And so I think that's just key, is the communication and compromise, and just finding a partner that's going to support you in your goals.
Right. No, I think that's amazing.
I think this isn't necessarily something we think of when we're actually dating someone, but I'm always so grateful that the guy I ended up with actually had we were very aligned in terms of how we raise our kids and how we support each other career-wise. And so I think it's really important that discussion is had at some point in the courtship process, you know, like what your career goals are and what your future looks like, and what your how you hope to balance your work life with your home life. I think that's a really important question to be had.
Now, I just wanted to cut you guys in, and just following along with that, with your guys' husbands, was it very they kind of just were like that from the beginning, or like you said, Dr. Sharmila, like you had to have the discussion with them, like, you know, listen, like this is what your role is going to be, like I need you to do this, this, and this, or were they just like, no, like they knew exactly how they were going to help you guys out and go on with it?
I don't think there was ever a point where we had a discussion. I think my husband he knew I was pretty independent in terms of wanting a private practice, and he knew my essential goals and my what my final ambition was. And so he's always just been very supportive of whatever it is that I wanted to do. So there was never a discussion about like, well, I want you to pick up, you know, if we get married, then this is what I want from you, and you have to pick up the kids these days, things like that. We actually got married relatively quickly, so there was really no room for that. But I think like just based off of his character, I knew that he would be supportive of, you know, whatever my career goals were. And I think that's what's really important is I have tons of friends who were dating like the wrong type of guy, where I was like, this is not going to make sense for who you are as a person, who you want to be as a person and as a woman and as a career woman. So I think it's just, you want to be attuned to those type of characteristics.
Yes. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My husband is actually a dentist, and when we first met, I was in residency, so he had been with me kind of through the crux of probably one of the hardest parts of my life, and our relationship has been super fluid. He works full-time too. He has his own practice, but similarly to Pam, I don't think I would be in my own private practice was it not for him, because he really helped me structure it. He helped me gain an online presence. He helped me decide whether I wanted to take insurance or not. And all of these things were like, you can hear it from so many different people, but when it's coming from your partner, it's been, really important to me and for my practice, at least, for sure. And then, in terms of our day-to-day, we're so lucky to have family, but it's crazy. Like, our house is so up and down. Like, there are some days that I'm calling him, I'm running late, he's running late. We definitely, I would love to say are 50-50, but we're not. I think I pretty much cook all the meals and I pick up the kids, but I also have my own private practice, but it's just the nature of kind of how our practice is run, and that's okay with me, so to each his own.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Rena, what about you?
Yeah, so I have a little unique story. My husband is a doctor and he practiced during all of my training. And as soon as I started on faculty, he started to pivot his career. So now he is kind of into online day trading and things like that. And he's working from home, which has made it really easy because he's home to, especially during COVID, he's home to be with the kids. He's home to get them to the school bus, whatever it is. And so it's been really helpful, but he's always been supportive. And I think when I married him or when we were dating, I had no idea what kind of father he was going to be, but I knew what kind of person he was. And we never had a formal discussion, but we talked about, I saw how he valued his family and how much that meant to him. And that just translated into our relationship as parents. And there's always back and forth. And I would say that it's sometimes 60-40, sometimes 50-50, sometimes 70-30. I mean, people have on days and off days, and you just need to communicate with each other like, babe, I can't do it today. You gotta take the kids right now. And it works out fine. And I think like Pam's husband, my husband does all the cooking. So it's really awesome from that perspective.
Wow. I mean, you guys seem so busy. You guys seem like you guys have such a busy schedule. Like, I guess my next question to you guys is like, how, with like the busy schedule that you guys have and like with the kids and, the husband and the private practices and maybe not the private practices, like, how do you guys make time for vacationing and just taking time off, like with all the patients that you guys see? Like, what's the schedule like for all of you guys?
So this was actually very difficult for me early on in my career. I was very type A, and I felt like you gotta work every day of your life. Like if I had to work on weekends, I was like totally fine with that. But my husband was the one that was like, you know what, for your own like long-term sanity and to avoid burnout, we need to schedule like vacation time, and you need to like take a break every 3 months. And it's not just like, you don't take off like a month at the end of the year or whatever. You've got to really be mindful about scheduling this time off. And so I started doing this a few years ago, and I think it was a total game changer for me and for my relationship with the kids. Definitely, I take tons of time off now around their school schedule. So I get their, obviously I get their school schedule in the beginning of the year. Pretty much every day they have off, I take off, and then we take vacations. I mean, obviously now we're not taking any vacations, but we take vacations around their school schedule, and it's been great for my sanity. It's been great in terms of avoiding burnout. I used to feel like, well, if I go away for long periods of time, what about the patients? I worry about the patients. But I realize they're going to be here, and I could get the work done beforehand, and it's really just been great for my sanity. And I have tons of friends who go through burnout, and that's my one piece of advice is try to carve out that time for yourself, whether it's every day or at the end of every week, or whether it's, at the end of 3 months taking a week off or 2 weeks off, but find that time for yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharmila. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Dr. Pamela Mehta next.
I think my husband and I are very like work hard, play hard. So we definitely grind when we're both at work, and then our vacations are dictated by our kids' school schedule, just like Sarmila said. And also my husband has more set vacations with his employed position. And so then I just kind of rearrange things to when it works for both of those schedules aligning. And I think there's a lot of things you can do. Even though I'm in solo practice, I've partnered with a few other solo doctors in the area. And so we cover each other's patients when the other one is out of town. And I try to do it as often as I can when I'm in town for other people, so that, they'll do it for me when I'm gone. And a lot now is so virtual. You can do so much on email and telehealth and a Google phone number that I'm not completely shut off when I'm on vacation. And that's actually okay with me. I don't mind doing a little bit of work here and there, between runs on the ski slope. And so it's kind of, again, that whole designing your life. For me, I like to take a good amount of vacation, so I'm okay kind of being still on while I'm on vacation. And so I think it's just kind of getting all your ducks in a row on how you're going to do this. So for me, I think the main things were getting those other physicians involved so we can cover each other's patients, and having the flexibility with things like, the Google number going to my phone, my cell, and doing a lot over email and telemedicine.
But now, even when you are on vacation, are you like so worried, like, oh my God, what's happening over here? Like, what's happening over there? Like, are you actually in vacation mode? Do you guys just cut everything out?
I think that takes experience, because I think when you're a newer physician and when you've just started, you stress over everything all the time. That's just kind of part of having a business and being a brand new doc. And I think just with time, you realize with your experience what things are serious and what things can wait. And so I think, probably as a mom and a physician, your brain's never totally turned off, but you do what you can do.
Thank you so much. What about you, Sonia?
Actually, I totally agree with Pam on this. So it's similar. And I mean, she actually helped me a ton when I was starting my own private practice, because she was kind of around me when I was making that transition. But when me and my husband met, one of our biggest things was that we both love to travel. And that was something that I wanted to have implemented into my schedule if I was going to do something on my own. So we both actually have every 6 weeks, like the same days off, and we'll take time off, so that usually we would travel, but clearly not now. And then I agree. I think compartmentalization is so important, because often when I'm on vacation, because of what I do, like being a pelvic pain specialist, it's so niche. I can't find anyone to cover me, because no one really knows what I do or can sometimes deal with those emergencies. But being able to answer emails, so much you can do virtually, and then compartmentalizing, saying, okay, I took this time from 8 to 10 to answer this stuff and do this stuff, and now I'm on vacation, and I'm just going to end up doing whatever it is that I want to do. And I think it's true, it is designing your life, and for some people that doesn't work, but for me, I actually love it. It works perfectly for the way my mind works. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And then what about you, Dr. Rena?
So I actually, because I work in academics, I have a lot of time for vacation, and I take it, I use it, of course, not as much during COVID, but I am getting to the point where I need a little mental break anyways. But I think that the other thing of advice that I give, because I travel a lot for work, so I go to conferences a lot, I speak a lot. And so what I do is during the time I'm at a conference, I make sure to do something fun for myself. So I book a massage, I hike a mountain, I do something. I take a break from the conference, and I make it a part of like vacation for myself, because that's the time I'm away from my husband and my kids. And so it's self-care, and that kind of adds to my vacation. But I love vacation. I think it's so important, and I am able to disconnect because I have lots of backup help at work. I have residents, I have other partners. And so I am able to really like turn off my email and just be at vacation and be with my family.
Yay, thank you so much. That's really, really good to hear. I know for myself, like when I go on like brand trips and stuff, like the way you guys do it, I personally can't do it. Like I can't take myself out of it. I'm so like focused on the trip and for the brand and stuff that it's like really hard for me to like even just go on the little hike. I'm so focused on, okay, I need to get this over and done with, and then do whatever I can afterwards. So I should take some pointers from you guys. But my next question to you guys is, how does the out-of-network or cash pay model affect your lifestyles? And just how has this model worked in just designing your lives?
I'll start. So I have worked with every single kind of payer mix. I was employed, then I did I had a hospitalist position. I've done some rural medicine. I've joined a large group where I took a percentage of my earnings, where we took every single insurance under the sun. And then 3 years ago, when I started my own practice, I decided to go out of network. And part of that had to do with me wanting that flexibility in the schedule that I wanted. I couldn't be somebody who was going to see 50 patients a day. It just wasn't going to work in the hours that I was going to work. So that's part of the reason that I went out of network. And it's not something I feel like, and Sonia, you could probably talk about this a little too, that like a lot of people don't talk about this different kind of practice. Some people call it concierge or boutique or smaller, but it is something that is available to you and for you to kind of pursue. It's just a different kind of practicing of medicine, and different things are involved. So for me, it's worked really well. I do not have any kind of membership model, because in orthopedics, you see your surgeon for an acute problem. So my patients don't stick with me. Then they go back to their primary care doctor. So for me, I'm just, fee for service. And so it's worked well for me. I do take Medicare and a couple other, like workman's comp and personal injury. But for me, I've really honed in on that out-of-network model, and I'm happy to share more of that with people, over email or messaging on Instagram at some point. I think that's like a much longer conversation, but I think the important thing to realize is that you can pursue that model. It just means different things. It's not the same as an in-network clinic.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Pam. What about you, Sonia?
Yeah, so my practice is, like I said, it's pretty niche because what I do it's kind of a mix of, GYN and urology and pelvic floor work. And so when I was deciding what to do, when I was in academics, I would see that a lot of what we did was just not reimbursed well by insurance companies, just because a lot of what I do is off-label stuff. It's not well studied, and so it's more of like a mix of medicine as art and science. And so when I went off on my own, I decided to, like Pam, do fee for service. Essentially what I do is that patients come in, I'm out of network with all insurances, including Medicare, but I provide them with a super bill at the end of our visit, and they have the ability to submit that to their insurance. So, I mean, it's a different model, but ultimately patients are reimbursed for however much their insurance is willing to reimburse them for. And so for me, it's been great because I get to see less patients in a day. So dealing with pelvic pain work, you can't necessarily see 40 patients in a day. It's not a volume-based practice. So for me, I get to see, 5 to 6 patients in a day, and that's a full day for me. And I'm also reimbursed what I think I'm worth. And so it works out well for what I do specifically, and it gives me the ability to give my patients the care that they deserve. So they get a full 1-hour appointment when they come in. They get, their procedures are done in 1-hour increments. They get full contact with me, like they have my email, they have any number that they want to contact me at, and it's like a security thing for them. And for me, I feel like I'm satisfied at the end of my day. So I love it. And that model worked great for my particular niche.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sonia. And then Dr. Sarmila?
My situation is similar to Sonia as well, given the type of work that I do. I'm primarily cosmetic, but there's a lot of functional component. For example, if I'm doing a rhinoplasty and someone has breathing issues, we can give the patient information. They can submit it to their insurance on their own and get reimbursed on their own. But my services are separate from that. So same as what Sonia was saying, I feel like I can charge for what I think my time is worth, and the patients value that. They get my attention, during the consultation, it's me the whole time. We do imaging. Their aftercare is primarily me. They have full access to me. It's not a nurse doing their procedures or anything like that. So I think patients see the value in that, and it's beneficial to me as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sharmila. And Dr. Rina, do you have any thoughts on this as well?
So I don't take cash. I'm in network completely because I work in an academic center. I think for me, I'm salaried, so there's no pressure directly on me to perform. We do get bonuses based on how many people we see, but because I think at my institution, I offer a very niche service that is not offered, and I can take care of patients that nobody else can, I have less pressure and I'm not that concerned. So again, designing your life to find the job that fits you is really key.
My next question to you guys is, how do you guys adequately just negotiate a contract to be able to meet your guys' needs? And we can start off with Dr. Pamela.
Oh, actually, I think, Rena, you have kind of the most experience in this. I will say that I don't think I ever did a good job with negotiation. And so I think it'll be really important to hear from you, because my first job out of residency was in a healthcare system where they gave me a contract and said, sign this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's nothing you can negotiate, and you just have to sign it. Years later, I realized you can always negotiate, but I wouldn't have even known what to do or what to ask for or how to go about doing it. So, Rena, maybe you can shed some light onto that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key that Dr. Pam said was like, you have to negotiate. Even if people tell you that you can't or you shouldn't, you always can. And so what I did, and this may not be the best method, but I've learned something since then, is I was a little bit nervous to negotiate. So I drafted an email to the chair who was hiring me, and I said, I want this X, like 5 major things I wanted, right? I wanted this salary based on data that I had, based on my other offers. I wanted X number of CME days or days to go do lectures and go to conferences. I wanted X signing bonus or travel bonus, because those are things you can negotiate for more easily. And I don't remember all of them. I think those were the ones. And I sent it a very detailed email, and I explained why I wanted those things. Like, why did that make sense? It wasn't coming out of air. I did my research. I found the data on what people were getting around the nation. And that's how I presented it. And then he called me and he said, let's talk about this. And he said, I can give you this. I can't give you this. I can absolutely give you this. And so I got a little bit more. Did I get as much as I was worth? I hope so. I don't know exactly, but I did negotiate for more. The other advice that I've gotten that's really helpful is, kind of when you go into negotiate, and I haven't negotiated yet because I've only been there a little less than 2 years, is to go into the office, sit down with your boss and say, I'm about to negotiate. And I know that women who negotiate are not perceived as well as men, perhaps. And so that kind of informs them and maybe lets their guard down. And there is some data to suggest that people take that better when you give them a little warning sign. And so that's what I'm going to try when I negotiate next. And I think just trying to practice it before you do it, practice it with your best friend, your spouse, whatever, what you're going to say, and try to do some calming techniques and really go in there and just ask for what you're worth, and always have data to support it. How many patients you saw, what work you completed over the year, why it was important, and why you're worthy of that raise, because you absolutely are.
Did you have that fear of I'm going to get rejected? What's going to happen to me? What am I going to do if I do get rejected? Anything like that go through your mind?
Absolutely. So I actually did the same tactic at a different academic institution where I was interviewing, and I said, this is what I want. Same thing, sent them an email, and they wrote back that we're rescinding our offer. And I was actually very thankful, because I wouldn't want to work somewhere where they take your response that's really totally appropriate and say they won't even talk to you about it. It's fine to say we really can't give you that, but we still want you on board. We just don't have the finances right now, or we really, we're giving you the best we can offer. But to completely rescind the offer, that tells me that place is not the right place for me to work. Even if I wanted to live in that city or be at that institution, I would not be happy long term. So yes, of course, there is some concern of rejection, but if they reject you, that's the worst that's going to happen, right? They're going to say no, but they might say yes. And if you don't ask, you won't ever know. So I think you just have to put your big girl panties on and go do it.
Just go for it. Yeah, no, I agree. I just feel like some girls, especially in the South Asian community, where we can be really nervous and scared of I just don't have it in me to ask for this much and maybe above and beyond what I think I can do. So I think those are great tips that all the attendees should definitely take in. I'm going to go ahead and shift the questions a little bit and change it up. My next question to you guys is, can you guys just talk to me about the concept of work-life balance and how do you guys make it work? I know some of you guys discussed that you guys do have help, maybe nannies and stuff like that, but some of you guys did say you guys depend on family, but just discussing that again on just how you guys balance it all out. And we can start with Dr. Sarmila.
So like I had mentioned, we live close to family. So my husband's family lives less than an hour away from us. So we moved. I mean, that wasn't the reason we moved to LA, but that was definitely one of the pluses of moving to LA, is knowing that one set of grandparents were close by. So very early in my career, when my daughter was just born, my mother-in-law was so integral in helping to take care of our daughter. And then also with, my husband's work schedule and me designing my schedule so that I was home with her a lot. that worked out well. And then as the kids have gotten older, they're in school pretty much all day, and then they have after school activities. So they're pretty self-sufficient now. We're just like glorified chauffeurs at this point. So my husband and I manage that ourselves, but having family nearby really made a big difference. And my parents who live, they're now closer to us, but they used to live across the country. And so my mom used to fly out a lot. She was a practicing veterinarian. She would take months off of work and come and help us with our kids as well. Like when my son was born, she took 3 months off and came to help out. So we're very fortunate that we had family nearby or willing to help.
Thank you so much. Dr. Pam?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and I think sometimes on social media it looks like we all just do it ourselves, and I really want us to all break out of that because it's just not true. It's not true at all. Whether it's having hired help or family or your spouse or, you're doing it yourself, but, half-assing it a lot of times. I mean, it's all just important to know. So for me, I'll tell you very specifically, I have a nanny that helps me Monday through Thursday, and she's there morning to late night, and those are the days that I try to put my OR days in case I'm going to be running late, and she's known my children since they were born. I have 3 children, and my oldest is 6, and she's known them since my first one was 8 weeks old. So she knows them, the ins and outs of them, and can help me with anything, meaning if I have to get up early and leave for something, like I don't even have to give her directions. And then usually my husband and I try really hard from Thursday afternoon to Sunday, like just to do all the nitty gritty stuff ourselves. And we've chosen it that way because we just feel like, we don't want someone in our house at that time helping us with the children. And so we really try to do as much as possible for our children. Then not to say we're not doing it Monday through Thursday, but we do have that extra set of hands in the background. Our families are also super involved. My in-laws live just a couple hours away and are ready to come down at, the drop of a dime to take care of the children, and they spend a lot of time with them. And my parents are a 1-hour flight, and they are super, super helpful and supportive and have come many, many times also just like, I need you in 2 days. This much is going on, and they just book a flight and come. And so our kids are very blessed to have both sets of grandparents heavily involved and supportive to me and my husband's career and our children's, upbringing. So we have help, and we try to do a lot, like as much as possible on our own, but we do have help.
I think that's so important and so helpful, especially in the field that you guys are in. Like, honestly, it's hard. It's really hard. So to have someone just there available for you guys, even though a flight away is really still a flight away, right? It's still to even be able to come down with a flight, it's still a lot. So just that in itself is very, very, it's amazing. So thank you so much for telling us that. What about you, Dr. Sonia?
Yeah, we are so lucky because one of the reasons that we live in New York where we live is because it's close to my parents, and my parents, they watch my kids every single day. They feed them every meal. We have a housekeeper, as someone who comes in twice a week and cleans our house. She will chop up vegetables for me so that I can cook throughout the week, and it requires a village, you know what I mean? And so it's definitely not easy. And then that you can translate that to the work end too. We were talking about making your own website. Well, I had someone make my website. That was something that I knew I just couldn't put my time and energy into at that moment, and patient care mattered more to me. And so I had to kind of triage that and give that away. But I think it's important, just like Pam said, for everyone to know that we all have help. Like, anyone who's doing all of these things has help, and there's no shame in that. In fact, it's like something that we should be pretty open and honest about, so that no one looking at us ever feels like, oh, am I inadequate because I'm not doing all of these million things that these women are doing? I'm sure that applies to you too in your field. Everything, any field that you're in requires help from a village, and that's good and that's okay, and we should own it and be proud of it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And then Dr. Rena?
Yeah, I will just echo what everyone says. I don't live near my parents, but my parents are amazing and come and help us all the time. They drive down anytime we need them. They lived with my first son for 9 months. They lived with my second son for 3 months to help us with him. And then we've since been in daycare and school. So with the home life, my husband helps a lot because he's home now. I will say that for work, I mean, yes, absolutely, we have a lot of help at work. So I have medical students who do research with me, and they are amazing, hardworking. They help me, they help me conduct the research I want to do. So I'm very prolific that way. Of course, in the operating room, we have a whole team of people to help us get stuff done. And then with social media, yeah, you hire help sometimes. Like I have a virtual assistant who helps me edit my YouTube videos and stuff now because it's just too much time for me. So I think there's asking for help is super important, and then being efficient when you're doing work so that you have more time to spend with your family. And I could talk about that for hours. I have a lot of hacks that I use to kind of be really efficient at work so that I can be home and be present with my kids when I'm at home.
No, that's amazing. I absolutely agree with all of you ladies. There's no problem in asking for help. I mean, you guys are so busy, and just you guys have so much to do, So I feel like what's wrong with asking for help, right? What's wrong with it? Absolutely nothing. My last question to you ladies is, what does self-care mean to you? And how does that help you maintain a work-life balance that works for you guys? And we can start with Dr. Rena this time.
Sure, yeah. So self-care is doing whatever you need to feel regenerated or revitalized. And so for me, that's having some time to exercise, having maybe a few minutes to meditate, which I'm not great at, but working on, adding some time for meditation. And then, having some downtime to wind down at the end of the day. So on a daily basis, I try to incorporate some self-care. And then, just being able to ask for help when you're really like taking on too much, and just making sure you schedule time for yourself. And I think, like Pam mentioned, putting it on the calendar can be helpful in scheduling time for yourself.
Thank you so much. What about you, Dr. Sonia?
I am also a big meditator and yoga person, and that's really important for me in working out. But sure, like we all say that, right? Self-care can also mean like eating bonbons and sitting in front of the TV. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, you know what I mean? And then I think for me, a big part of self-care is also having support from like friends and family and being able to talk through things, because there's so many times that you can feel so alone through this process. So a lot of people even on here have been huge, important aspects of self-care for me to just be like, I need to vent. I need to tell you that all of this stuff happened, and it just ultimately allows that space for you to grow because you just have someone else kind of listening to what's going on with you. So to me, that's important too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sonia. What about you, Dr. Pam?
So I, like Rena mentioned, I schedule it in. So for me, my main thing, and maybe because I have my youngest is 11 months, for me, it's working out. Working out is so important to me for my mental space more than anything else. And so for me, I just schedule it in every single day or every other day. And that's my 45 minutes just for myself. And, I can work on my workout goals during those 45 minutes. So for me, it's just so therapeutic. In terms of kind of other self-care, I think it probably has taken us all some time to recognize that, you really need time for yourself and it's not being selfish. And I think that, that's kind of a lifelong goal of trying to carve out bits and pieces of time and to not feel like you're taking from your kids or your husband or partner or business. And it's still something I'm working on, but I think that for me, just scheduling it in and just being very present in that moment of self-care and like whatever it is, meditating, yoga, and I definitely do my fair share of trash TV at night where I just want things turned off. I don't want to talk to anyone, my husband, I just want to like zone out and watch, whatever it is that usually it's the Kardashians or Real Housewives. But yeah, that's important, all of that.
It's so funny.
I agree. I've actually had a really hard time finding the time to devote to self-care, and I need to be like more intentional about it. And part of it definitely stems from the guilt of, oh, if I do this and I'm taking time away from my kids or from the family. And I've definitely improved on that over the past few years, but it's still quite the struggle for me. But for me, self-care is not so much in exercise and meditation. Although I want to get better with meditation, but for me, it's just doing a little, like taking a bath or doing things longer and just indulging in the things that make me happy. Whether it's like taking more time to cook or cooking a favorite meal that I wouldn't have like the time to prepare previously, and just enjoying the little things have been very important for me. And I think that's what makes a difference. And even when it's like spending time with the kids, I used to be of the mindset where each second I spend with them, like I want to make sure they're getting something out of this time, or I want to make sure that they're learning something, that I want each minute to have some value. And it took me a while to realize just spending time with their mom who's present has so much value. And so that's been like a work in progress for me, where now we just cuddle and hang out. It doesn't have to be a teachable moment every single second.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharmila. This actually does conclude our session. Thank you guys so much, doctors. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to come on here and share your knowledge with us and with the attendees. I learned a lot. I hope the attendees learned something. But again, thank you guys so much. I do know if we do have time, we're going to go ahead and do the Q&A. So I'll have you guys take over that. But again, thank you guys so much, and yeah, have a wonderful day, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting this.